Hello again and welcome to Lesson 6. Actually, welcome to the middle of Lesson 6. I'm getting this out later than I wanted to. I am going to be doing better on that, so you'll have these at the beginning of the week where they will be hopefully far more useful. Anyway, confession aside, we are right in the middle of Lesson 6. The discussions are underway. We're talking about triangulation this week. And we'll be speaking, a lot of you will be discussing that in terms of the essay that we read for this week, Two Men and a Portrait, which is a pretty good example of triangulation. And you'll also be talking about triangulation in terms of the methods that you'll be using in your own paper to triangulate a clearer perspective on the person that you have interviewed and will be profiling. So this week, that's your focus, triangulation. I wanted to point you ahead to what's coming in future weeks, future projects that are on the docket. Next week, you will be finishing up the profile essay. You'll have your writing workshops beginning Monday. Those will extend to Wednesday. And you will also, I wanted to point this out especially, you will fill out an issue questions survey. This will be preparation for our next assignment. You will choose from a list of issue questions on obesity. Let's see. Okay, several issues that you'll be looking at starting next week. You will the first thing that you'll be doing in their next project, which is an individual researched proposal, where you will look at an issue, you will look at the problems with that issue, you will offer a solution to that issue in an individual paper. That's the next project that is on the docket here. After that, that will turn into a group proposal, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. So for your individual proposal, the first thing you'll be doing starting next week is you will take this issue questions survey. A number of things you can look at to get an idea of what things you'll be researching for your individual proposal. And then starting in week 8, based off of how many people choose which issue, I will put together a list of several issues that you will then sign up for. A research team sign up, and you will begin working. Well, that is the group that you'll be working with for the remainder of the semester. So starting next week, we begin the individual proposal, and we finish up first the profile essay. Then we do a little bit of work on the individual proposal. Starting in lesson 8, we hit the individual proposal pretty hard for the rest of the semester. That will be your focus. So that's what is coming up. After the individual proposal, like I said, the only thing you'll be working with in groups on this assignment is in your your workshops. You'll have writing workshop groups. The groups will be your research group, if that makes sense at all. And then once you have submitted your individual proposal during lesson 10, see right here, lesson 10, then you will begin working with your group on a group presentation of your proposal. We'll get more into depth on that as we move ahead in the semester, but I wanted right now to just point you ahead to what's coming in future weeks, to what's on the docket for the rest of the semester. Since we are now in midterm, everything from here on out, we kind of start going downhill to the end of the semester. Also wanted to point out midterm conference sign up. You don't need to actually put anything into this. You just need to choose an option and then carry that option out. And I will be returning emails, phone calls, etc. this week and next week for those midterm conferences. So hopefully that's a helpful overview of what's coming ahead. And I wanted to just conclude with some thoughts on language, as I've done every week, a gospel vision of language. I was reading this week in Moses chapter 1, and it really struck me how often words come up in the first first five verses of Moses chapter 1. The words of God which he spake unto Moses at a time when Moses was caught up into an exceedingly high mountain. And he saw God face to face, and he talked with him. How would that be to have a conversation face to face with God? Whew. And the glory of God was upon Moses. Therefore Moses could endure his presence. And God spake unto Moses. We have God speaking. He's using language. God spake unto Moses, saying, Behold, I am the Lord God Almighty, and endless is my name, for I am without beginning of days or end of years. And is not this endless? And behold, thou art my son. Wherefore look, and I will show thee the workmanship of mine hands, but not all, for my works are without end. And I love this part here. And also my words, for they never cease. Wherefore no man can behold all my works, except he behold all my glory. And no man can behold all my glory, and afterwards remain in the flesh on the earth. Just look at all those references to words, to speaking, to language in these first five verses, where God uses language to speak to Moses, to do things that his works, God's works, are very closely related to his words. That he actually brings to pass his works. He creates via language, via words. He speaks, and things are created. So his works are without end, and his words are without end. Neither ever cease. And we have in that his words are tied directly to his works, and his works are his glory. So God's glory, in a sense, is it rises out of his use of words, of language, of his ability to create, which, as we've talked about, as I've discussed before, is part of his ability to make language. So I just found that fascinating as I was reading through that this week, to make these connections between God's creations and his words and his glory. That's a complex way of looking at the way God works, and in one way that he uses words and language. So just remember that we are his children, and that we can also create with words, that can be part of that is part of our glory. As we create with words, we can bring glory to him and to those around us. We can persuade them to do good. So just keep those things in mind as we continue through this semester, and also in your lives as you speak with others, etc., etc. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to let me know. As always, my inbox is always open.